It's over!
MonsterArts.
I have the high ground!
You underestimate my power!
Don't try it!
Yeah, this figure's really good and stuff. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Nathanzilla and today I'm gonna do a review of the MonsterArts Shin Godzilla. You already know the name by this point. Before we get into it, a little context for the figure. This figure was made to celebrate the Shin Japan Heroes universe, a marketing collab between various companies involving Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and Evangelion. And this specific look of Shin is meant to look like he did during the night scenes of Shin Godzilla, when he's all glowing and stuff. But is this figure any good? Is it somehow worse than the original? Is it even worth it? Well, that's what this review is for. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Let's start off with his articulation, shall we? If you already have a MonsterArts Shin Godzilla, you already know what to expect. And if you don't, you're in for a treat. Let's start with the head. Now, on most MonsterArts figures, there's only one joint for the head and one joint for the jaw. Not on Shin. What he's got instead is two ball joints for his mouth, one for the upper jaw and one for the lower jaw. Those joints allow him to open up extremely wide, and because they move individually, you can get some pretty crazy stuff with it. Since Shin doesn't have a head joint, he can't look up. However, the two joints in his neck do let him look in pretty much every other direction. Heck, if you really wanted to, you could probably make him look backwards. Next up, the arms. There isn't much here since his arms didn't move too much in the movie and are kinda useless, but MonsterArts still gave these babies some movement. The shoulder is on a ball joint, but it's kinda tight and I don't like to move it too much because it might grind against the chest sculpt and therefore scratch some paint. It looks like the biceps can at least swivel, but they're basically stuck on mine. If any of you know how to fix a stuck joint, please let me know. Anyway, the elbow is on a basic hinge, moving in and out, and the hands are on ball joints. For his torso, there are 2 points of articulation, one for his upper torso and one for what is essentially his stomach. And with those joints, he can move extremely far forward and twist from side to side. You can get a ton of expressive movement from his torso alone. The legs are on ball joints and can move that far forward and that far back. He can bend his knee that far and extend it that much. And his feet are articulated too. Now for what is Shin's most recognizable attribute, his tail. This thing is loaded with joints from the base all the way to the tip, and almost nothing falls off. The only problem is that it's kinda heavy and might wear down the joints over long periods of time, so I'd recommend getting something to hold up the tail or for the tail to lean against when displaying him. Overall, Shin can move quite a bit. Everything stays on nice and tight, a bit too tight in some areas, and if you're creative, you can have a lot of fun with this guy. Believe it or not, Shin actually looks really good. MonsterArts is not known for completely film-accurate sculpts for their figures, and Shin here is a clear example of that, but that isn't a bad thing. Gaiyan 2004 is one of the best figures in the line, and its sculpt isn't accurate either. And I think the sculpt for Shin is really well done, and an excellent representation of the CGI model from the movie. He's also pretty sharp, be careful. On the original Shin Godzilla, the paint was very glossy and seemed to hide the finer details of him. Here it's the total opposite. The paint for Shin actually highlights the amazing sculpt. Shin Godzilla was made with a red translucent plastic with black painted over it, with some parts left unpainted to let light shine through the red, and it's done really well here. Examples include his chest, which finally has some red on it, his legs, his neck, and of course, his spines. Even in low light areas, the red sticks out and looks great on Shin, really helping him stand out on the shelf. And when you put a light behind him, he looks even better. The red on him really makes him look like he's glowing. Now for the eyes. They aren't perfect, but on mine they're pretty good. In the movie, Shin's eyes are symmetrical and are looking down and slightly outward. This figure somewhat keeps the symmetry, but the pupils are now more centered on the eye, making him look like he's zoned out of reality. I don't really mind it, because at least they're not looking in two completely different directions. Could have been better, but it also could have been a lot worse. The teeth aren't too bad either, considering the size of the figure. On the head's right side, the teeth do look slapped on and a bit sloppy, but otherwise it's decent. Not terrible, not great, just acceptable. The claw paint for the hands isn't too good, but at least they tried to add some shading. And on this hand it looks like they added a bit too much claw paint. It doesn't look great, but the toe claws make up for it, with much better shading on them, making them look real nasty, but in a good way. The rest of the figure pretty much just has the charcoal black paint and it looks really good. A lot of people seem to take issue with the tail tip being a bit too red, but I think it looks fine. Shin Godzilla's sculpt is really good, despite being inaccurate, and the paint job isn't too bad either. The issues I found could have been better, but they honestly feel like nitpicks given how good the rest of Shin Godzilla looks. If you have any lights and or do toy photography, this is a great figure to use. No idea why it took them 7 years, but we finally have a good looking, non-atomic breath Shin Godzilla. Well done, Bandai. And here are Shin's accessories. Oh wait, there are no accessories. This honestly kinda ticks me off a little. It seems like a trend MonsterArts has had lately and I don't like it. They keep releasing new Godzilla figures with no accessories and selling them for $90 or more. Shin Godzilla costs $160 and all you get is the figure. Come on Bandai, at least give us something. But, c'est la vie. It is what it is. Before we end this review, here's a quick size comparison to give you an idea of how big Shin is and how much shelf space you'll need to clear if you plan on getting him. This is the Kaiju figure tier list, and by this point you probably already know how these things work, with absolute garbage at the bottom and masterpieces at the top. Shin Godzilla, the 4th Night Combat version, is going to be in B tier in my opinion. The sculpt is really well done, with many fine details, and the articulation is superb. But some sloppy paintwork here and there, and mainly the lack of accessories, keep it from going any higher. However, despite its faults, I'd still recommend it. It's the best base Shin Godzilla in the line. Whether or not you have the original, if you want a good articulated Shin Godzilla figure, this is the one to get. Yeah, it could be better, but it could also be so much worse. Good job, MonsterArts. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. The stop motion demo is done and will be uploaded soon. Let me know if you like this new style of content and whether or not you'd want to see more. I don't know when my next review will be, because my wallet needs a break, but I will do more of these. Again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe so you don't miss the demo once I upload it, and have a great rest of your day.